Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me once again here at Dungeons of Discordance, where I am covering various tabletop role-playing games, starting with Monster of the Week. Now, in my last video, I talked about the basics of the game between character creation, the moves that you can use, and how the game usually runs. In that video, I kind of glossed over the use magic and big magic subject, saying how it's so in-depth and can be so game-breaking that it was going to be another video. Well, that's this video. Now, use magic in Monster of the Week is truly a wondrous thing. It can allow your players to bend the laws of reality to their will, allowing them to do pretty much whatever they want, but with some drawbacks. Now, use magic and big magic are the only two moves in the main book of Monster of the Week that use the weird stat, unless you're a hunter that has a move where you can choose to use a weird instead of one of your other stats for, like, kick some ass or act under pressure, which we'll get to that eventually when I cover the hunter playbooks. But the weird stat is how tuned into the supernatural world your hunter is. Even those who don't know what magic is are able to use it if they try hard enough in Monster of the Week. From the spooky to the mundane, the spellslinger to the crooked, you don't need to be a supernatural being to cast spells. You may not cast them well, if you have a -1 to your weird stat, but bad rolls only add to the chaos and the fun of the game. Now, when you try to use magic, you describe what you're desiring to achieve. It gives examples of power level for effects that you should be looking for, and explains that magic usually lasts around 30 minutes. But when you try to use magic, you roll your 2 6-sided die and add your weird bonus. On a 10 or more, the magic works without issue. You choose an effect from the table that it gives. On a 7 to 9, it works imperfectly. You still choose an effect, but you also choose a glitch, and the keeper narrates how that glitch happens. On a miss, which again is a 6 or lower, you lose control of the magic. This never ends well, and it can have disastrous results beyond the glitches. Now, an important thing to note when picking magical effects and the glitches that might happen is that magic is not normal. If you use this around NPCs or bystanders, be they enemy minions or just the normal people around town, it can have consequences if they notice. Whenever you choose an effect, you must choose anything from this list. The keeper might allow you to use some creativity and come up with something else, but these are what are listed in the book. You inflict 1 harm, which is obviously magical and bypasses armor. You can enchant a weapon to give it +1 harm in the magic tag, which can allow it to harm monsters or people who don't usually take harm from non-magical weapons. You can do one thing that is beyond human limitations, kind of making you a one-time superhero in that moment. You can bar a place or portal to a specific person or type of creature. Now, this is a very good defense against monsters or minions, if you're either barricading or fortifying and you need time to either continue your investigation or just need some time to heal up the harm you've taken and need to come up with a plan. Some monsters will even get frustrated or bored and leave, giving you the breathing room that you need. You can choose to trap a specific person, minion, or monster, and again, this can be a really good defense, or even a good offense. You can trap a creature within a building and then collapse that building or blow it up. Both barring and trapping are very good "we need more time, do something" options. You can banish a spirit or curse from a person, object, or place it inhabits, kind of like an exorcism. You can summon a monster into the world, which I don't know why you would want to do this, but it's an option. You're a monster hunter, you really shouldn't be summoning things into the world. You can communicate with something that you don't share a language with, such as with monsters or minions or even animals. Or you can observe another place or time, which is good for if your team is split up and you need to check up on each other, or if you're just trying to get clues for your mystery and you want to look back in time and see if there might be something that the past can give you a clue on. And finally, you can use your magic to heal one harm from an injury, to cure a disease, or neutralize a poison from yourself or one of your fellow hunters. Now, the glitches are the problems that can arise from manipulating reality in the universe. These are the things that either you or the Keeper get to choose, that are kind of the issue that comes up if you low roll on your d6s. Either the effect is weakened, maybe your one-time superhero ability isn't as strong as you had hoped, the effect is of short duration, like maybe you barred the monster outside hoping to get 30 minutes, you have 5. Better come up with something fast. You take 1 harm that ignores your armor, which you're messing with reality, sometimes reality stabs back. Sometimes the magic can draw immediate and unwanted attention, either from monsters or people, which is very rarely a good thing. Monsters are, honestly, rightfully, afraid of people who can use magic, and sometimes will target them to deal with the threat. And normal people burned witches in the past, so they might not really like to see magic users. Or your magic could have a problematic side effect. You banish that curse or spirit from that person, but it goes into you instead. Maybe you're able to speak with animals, but not your fellow hunters. Or maybe that harm that you're trying to heal from your friend, you heal them, but you transfer that wound to yourself. In addition to all of this, the Keeper can require special things for you to even be able to use magic. This is for Keepers who want to keep magic a little more rare, not as common in their world. You need to rely on physical things in order to do it. They may require weird ingredients that you have to go get from the monster or maybe one of your contacts or a resource. The actual act of casting the spell could take 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. You might not always have the time to spare that you want to have. The spell might require ritual chanting or arcane symbols or gestures, which both take time and could draw some unwanted attention. You might need more people to help cast the spell, and if your teammates don't really have a good weird bonus, or even a good help out bonus, this might cause your spell to fail. Or you might need to refer to a Tome of Magic for the details of the spell, which finding this or obtaining it could be a task in itself. Sometimes you need magic that is a little bit stronger, or might last a little bit longer than the listed effects that is under the use magic move. And that's where big magic comes in. Covers everything from bringing someone back from the dead to opening a gate to another dimension. It's simultaneously much more powerful and much more dangerous to use. Much like the move Use Magic, you describe what you want to accomplish, and the Keeper will determine what you need to do in order to cast the spell. They can pick one or more things from the following options. You may need to spend days or weeks researching the ritual. You might need to experiment with the spell with lots of failures to get it just right. Might need some weird or rare ingredients or supplies. Might take days or hours to cast. Sometimes you might need a lot of people to help cast the spell, either your group of hunters or maybe even the town or all the people who are around the source of the mystery. The spell may need to be cast at the particular place or time, such as midnight on the upcoming full blood moon when all the planets are aligned. You might need to use magic as part of the ritual, perhaps to summon that monster, communicate with something, or maybe even bar the portal that you opened to keep worse things from coming through. Sometimes it can have a specific side effect or danger. While use magic tears the fabric of reality, big magic punches a gaping hole and says, "Here I am, pay attention to me." Especially if the ritual is interrupted or fails, this can draw unwanted attention from many powerful sources. If you're running a longer game and you bring a hunter back to life with big magic, this is a good opportunity to introduce an aspect of death as a minor villain. Maybe one who shows up anytime that resurrected hunter uses a luck point. Or maybe death decides that if the hunters want to play God, it should teach them a lesson. Maybe it releases the dead from its domain or stops taking people when they should die from mortal wounds or disease until the hunters find a way to appease it. Use magic and big magic can break your world in many ways. It can, between introducing horrendous threats or even just coming up with really easy solutions to problems. Sometimes you don't really want to use it as a keeper. Or even you may not want to use it because it might overwhelm your new players. They might go overboard with what they think they can do with the spell. So that's why I recommend for new keepers or new players, and honestly what I prefer at my table, because it kind of helps flesh out the world and the hunters a bit more. Doesn't really just say, yeah, magic exists, you can all use it. Even the mundane. He knows magic for some reason, even though he's just a normal guy. In the Tome of Mysteries book, which is an expansion book for Monster of the Week, available at Evil Hat, there is a list of moves that replace the use magic move. If something in your Hunter's Playbook mentions use magic, you can replace that text with whichever of the moves you choose. These optional weird moves treat any level of a use magic as big magic. Now, if its power level isn't as strong as big magic, the keeper might choose lighter requirements, but it's still a larger ordeal because in this variety of the world, your characters aren't as in tune with the essence of magic. And say your keeper and some of your hunters want to use these moves, but you feel that use magic is still like, that's how I'm weird, then go ahead and keep using that. Like, unless your keeper specifically says, we're not using this move, it's still an option to you. I mean, even if you're the only one who can do it easily, that makes it much more interesting, both from a world-building perspective and a character-building perspective. These moves are Empath, which are those who have a supernatural ability to understand and become attuned to the feelings and emotions of those around them. People who literally feel what others are feeling. You can use this on anything with emotions, but the less human it is, the less it's safe for you. If the emotions are particularly strong or strange, you may need to act under pressure or become completely overwhelmed no matter how successful your empath weird roll was. I like to roll this as kind of like going mad in Call of Cthulhu. You touched a mind that you can't comprehend. And you're gonna pay the price for it if you don't roll well. To use this move, you open up your brain to feel the emotions of something right there in front of you. You roll your 2d6, add your weird bonus, and on a 10 or more, you gain a clear impression of their emotional state and intentions. And you get a +1 forward bonus when acting on this knowledge. On a 7 to 9, you get a hazy impression of their emotional state or intentions. And on a miss, your brain is overwhelmed. You don't get any information. Also, something I didn't really touch on in my last video, when you level your hunter, one of the moves that you can choose, or one of the upgrades that you can choose rather, is to advance a move, which is just kind of giving you an option where if you roll really well, you get extra bonuses. So if you advance Empath on a 12 or more, you gain the information and the +1 forward bonus, but you can also ask the Keeper a follow-up question that they have to answer honestly. Maybe you're illuminated. There's a group of benevolent and borderline omniscient beings that have made contact with you, and have chosen you to be their vessel in the world, known as the Secret Masters. They told you that they're fighting to make society or the universe perfect. Whether or not that's true is up to the Keeper. And sometimes they send you information, advice, or even just straight up orders. You can telepathically ask the Secret Masters for aid, rolling 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, they reveal a key fact or clue or technique that will help you. On a 7 and 9, they require you to complete a task. Once it's done, they'll help you. Kind of a you do something for me, I'll do something for you exchange. And on a miss, their reply is either terrible, garbled, or dangerously wrong. And if you advance this move, on a 12 or more, you get to ask the Keeper one follow-up question. And they, much like the Empath, they must answer honestly. Now for Keepers, the Secret Masters aren't really as benevolent as they would like their illuminated follower to believe. They're a threat, but not an active one. In the Tome of Mysteries, there's a new kind of threat called a phenomenon that are trying to change the world in some way to fit their personal ideal or goals. And that is a perfect threat to build for the Secret Masters. They're not actively trying to kill anyone, but they're trying to change the world, and the Illuminated is just the pawn in their game. You might be a little superhuman, which is where no limits comes in. You're able to push your body far further than a normal person, but you're still human. You follow physical possibility for a human, and must be careful not to go too far. For example, you can lift an SUV, jump over a moving truck, or punch through a wall. But you're not Superman. You can't lift a building, you can't fly, you can't punch blasts of energy out of your hands. When you push your body past its limits, you roll 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, your body obeys your will for a moment. On a 7 and 9, you do it, but you suffer a consequence. You either suffer 1 harm, you take a -1 on your next roll, or you need to rest right now, which could be bad if you're running from a monster. Or on a miss, something goes horribly wrong. Maybe you take more harm, or depending on what you're trying to do, this move could put you at risk of death. If you're running across rooftops and you try to jump over a long gap, that's a long fall that you're making. But if you advance this move on a 12 or more, rather than your body obeying your will for a moment, you can continue acting at your body's limits for 30 seconds. Perhaps you lived before. Maybe even several times. Being reborn time and time again to protect humanity from the creatures of the night. That's where the past lives move comes in. Maybe you used to be a scientist or a law officer researching mysterious happenings. Or maybe you were even the cultist trying to bring that creature into the world or following that monster. In any case, you've lived before, and you have the power to tap into the knowledge of those past lives. When you channel your previous incarnations to discover something, you pose a question and you roll 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, a past life has something useful to offer you, and you can ask 2 questions. On a 7 or 9, they have a little bit of experience. You can ask 1 question. Some example questions might be, what did a past life discover about blank? How did a past life deal with this problem, this monster? What important hidden secret can a past life show you the way to? What did a past life learn too late to help them? What does your past life advise you to do right now? And note down the names and the time periods of your past lives for just character notes and future reference. They can't overlap in time, can't be alive twice in the same time frame, but they can be from any time or place. And on a miss, that past life you're trying to contact takes over your body for a while, which, if you were a cultist following a monster in that past life, that might not be good for your fellow hunters. But if you advance the move, you get on a 12 or more, and past life knows exactly what you were after. You can ask one of the questions I mentioned previously, and 1 free-form question, anything you can come up with. And you get a +1 ongoing bonus while acting on the answers. Maybe you still want to be in tune with the strange energies and magic, but you don't really want to use magic. That's where you're sensitive to the very being of the world. You open up your brain to the psychic environment of the universe, rolling 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, you get a definite impression, a vision, maybe you feel a tangible aura, or you hear an overheard thought of someone nearby about something important. On a 7 to 9, you get a hazy impression about something important. And although it'll be important, it won't necessarily relate to your current concerns or the mystery you're now investigating, especially if you're running a longer-term game. Something important could be something coming up in the future. A clue or something related. And on a miss, your brain makes contact with something dangerous. That monster that your brain just touched, well, it noticed you just as much as you noticed it, and it's coming. And if you advance the move, on a 12 or more, you get the impression, and you can also ask the keeper 1 follow-up question that they must answer honestly. Maybe your instincts have never been wrong before, except for that one time. In any case, there's something you've always relied on. When you consult your instincts and trust your gut, you roll your 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, the keeper will tell you where you should go. Wherever that is, it'll be important, and you get a +1 ongoing bonus on the way to that location. On a 7 to 9, they'll give you a general direction to go, and you just get a +1 forward bonus. Which, to remind you, a +1 forward is just a +1 to your next roll you make. And then on a miss, it's like when your when your guts told you, yeah, that food's still safe to eat. Your instincts lead you into danger. If you advance this move, on a 12 or more, the keeper will tell you 1 important thing you should investigate further. Maybe something that you're not exactly thinking of, either you or your fellow hunters. A clue that the keeper's like, yeah, I'll give them this one. Now your gut feelings, much like the sensitive, they might tell you to go somewhere or do something not entirely related to the current mystery. It'll still be important, but perhaps not your first thought on where you should go. To your gut, this mystery is just one among many, and you are much more important than this mystery. If you and your fellow hunters are really hurt, and you're like, we need to keep going, we need to keep chasing this monster, your gut might be telling you, no, we need to take a break and get patched up. You might have the ability to manipulate and move things with your mind. You may be telekinetic. The objects must be smaller than a person, and you can't typically move it with enough force to harm anyone, but it can still come as a great surprise to others while being a useful tool for you. This weird move, much like use magic, does come at a cost. On a 10 or more, it hurts. You mark 1 harm, and you choose 2 options from the list that I'll cover in a moment. On a 7 and 9, you still succeed, but it really hurts. Trying to move things with your mind, not something a normal person can do. You mark 2 harm, and you only choose 1 option. Some options that the book gives are something is held fast. Maybe someone's trying to rip that door open and you just keep it closed so they can't go and alert their friends or go and get the monster. Something is hurt. Emphasis on thing. 2 harm with a tag of smash to an object. Something might catch fire. Another option is that you can fling something larger than a person, or you can even keep it under your control, which the keeper might ask for follow-up checks or even act under pressure checks if someone else is contesting control. Like, if someone's trying to batter that door down, you'll probably need to make follow-up checks. Or you could suffer 1 less harm, which if you're picking 2 options and when you would only take 1 harm, taking 1 less harm is usually a good option to pick. Now, if you advance this move, on a 12 or more, you do not suffer any harm, you can choose 3 options, and you can choose from advanced options. Something could explode, which does 3 harm to everything close to it that's both messy and fire damage. Something could implode, which is a 3 harm crush. You could have lots of things flying under your control, or you could have perfect and precise control over exactly what happens to that object that you're trying to do, or trying to control. And maybe you use your telekinesis to control a computer or a power panel from across the room, or even drive a car from across a parking lot. Lastly, you might just be a scientist. No special powers, no magic, but you do understand how to study special powers and magic and how those work. Weird science allows you to modify science and technology to study and research the strangeness of magic or even monsters. Some examples might be converting a petri dish and all of the other implements of studying blood to study monster flesh and blood, or determine what is or what it is, what kind of monster left this fur in the woods, or what it might be weak to. Or you might convert something to study an instance or phenomenon to gain clues as to what it's doing or what could be going on. Maybe you convert a Geiger counter to tell when something is extremely magical instead of radioactive. Maybe you can turn a metal detector into a portal detector. Portal to another dimension. When you create or adapt a device to analyze or deal with strangeness, you roll 2d6 plus weird. On a 10 or more, you select 2 requirements. On a 7 to 9, you pick one and the keeper picks one. And on a miss, something goes horribly wrong. You're still able to create your device, but the keeper picks 3 requirements. Now these requirements are, it needs a rare and or weird material, which you either need to go and find or get from a contact or resource. It might not be very reliable. It could require huge amounts of power or fuel. Maybe you knock out the entire city power grid trying to use this thing. it could take a long time to get it working, which, much like the other powers, if you're in a time crunch, either being chased or sometimes you just don't have the time before the monster attacks again, either you or bystanders. Taking a long time to get something working could sometimes be the worst requirement. It might not work exactly as you intended, or you might need help outside your team to finish it. So again, where your contacts, your resources, maybe even a bystander the Keeper came up with for this specific mystery could help, but it has to be someone outside your team of hunters. But if you advance the move, on a 12 or more, you get a +1 ongoing bonus while operating the device. Now, something to keep in mind with all of these moves is to remember that when a move says, you ask the Keeper, or the Keeper tells you and must be honest, it's the Keeper's job to do this narratively. They don't just give you a flat answer. It helps keep the game flowing, and it makes it feel more like a natural part of the story and of what's going on, rather than that godly omniscient being tapping you on the shoulder and going, hey, here's the answer to your question. Have fun. Go here. Do this. Could be trust your gut. You get a gut feeling deep in the pit of your stomach that bystander that you thought you left somewhere safe, may not be the safest place for them right now. Maybe the safest place was with you, and you get the feeling that they're in considerable danger. Rather than just telling them, yeah, you feel like Bob's not gonna make it if you don't go help him. Rather than your past life saying, yeah, I did this. Narrate a vision. That your past life where you were a monster hunter, you see yourself battling this werewolf, holding aloft a large silver blade, firing silver bullets into the beast as they hide within their house that is warded with wolfsbane. That could be the clue you need to know what the monster's weak against. As I said before, the optional weird moves in the Tome of Mysteries book, I honestly feel that they give you and your characters better backstory, they help you flesh out your world, and it makes everyone more unique than just saying, yeah, magic exists, you do it. Sometimes it requires things, sometimes it doesn't. And it also makes people like the Spellslinger and the Hex feel more unique whenever they actually have their personal abilities that are using magic or magical. And honestly, I feel like some of these moves, a lot of people wouldn't think to do these things with just flat out use magic. So the fact that these list all of these options on what they can do, it's good for people to read, and good for them to know that these options exist, and helps them be more creative in the game. Is use magic and big magic helpful? Yes. Very, very much so. It could be cool for your game. Maybe it is cool to you that everyone can use magic. Maybe you're all wizards. Monster Hunter wizards that are fighting the powers of evil. That's cool. The big magic rituals are sometimes the only way for a mystery to be solved. Just sometimes it doesn't have to be the only way. And that's where these optional moves come in. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and I hope that you pick one of these options and you can tell me in the comments below about a time that you used one of these moves to do something cool in your games. Or even tell me about a time you used magic or big magic and it caused something disastrous or amazing to happen. My next few videos, I'll go in depth on the Hunter playbooks, give like a how-to and what they can do, how to build them, how to play them, what moves I would recommend, different builds you could try, because you do have the options of what abilities you would like to prioritize, and also what level upgrades might be most important for them to pick up. Now, I did recently upgrade my Patreon, or not upgrade, but changed it up to be not about Dungeons & Dragons content. It's going to mostly be about Monster of the Week content for now. I'll be coming up with optional moves that you could use, optional playbooks, going in depth on mysteries that I come up with. And then once I feel more comfortable branching into other tabletop role-playing games, I'll make content on there about those as well. But for now, I'm gonna start just posting my Patreon link in my description below, along with the link to Evil Hat's website, where you can get both Monster of the Week and Tome of Mysteries. They did just recently make a post talking about how they are doing a hardback copy where they're combining both books into one and also adding a couple new hunters that used to just be digital only. It isn't really anything new, and you can still get the digital only hunter playbooks for free. It's just kind of a cool way to have both books in one in a hardcover rather than as a just like loose soft cover is the right word. But yeah, I will say I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you to my Patreons who are already supporting me. I'm working on something cool for my first few Monster of the Week posts. I've got some monster, minion, and bystander options, and I'm working on a mystery. It's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to doing this content. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support. And I will see you guys next time in the next video.